It's Nick and Mike's top 100 games. But does anyone care what they have to say? Let's. I know I don't. Cause they may dab, they might scream, they may say some things that are plain wrong. Dab on it, dab on it. But they are dumb bing bongs. My teacher's better.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike.
I'm the coldest water.
You have become the coldest water, like a Pokemon.
It's me.
Pokemon is shielded
My
out.
name's Nick.
I'm Mike. We are the Brothers Mark.
It's true.
And it was time to talk about another segment of our top 100 games of all time. Now, currently what we're doing in real life is we're laying on a floor somehow trying to find the strength to stand again after our marathon. Now, we may have succeeded. We might be basking in our glory. We might be in the throes of despair. But either way, the marathon is done.
It is
and
done.
That feels great.
It is done. We're either really pumped or bummed.
Or just like in the middle and be like, it's fine. Who
Yeah,
knows?
right.
Who knows? But we are somewhere. So thank you for everyone who maybe did join us during the marathon. You're going to see a video really soon, this week,
Yeah.
about that marathon. So check it out, please. And maybe there'll be a card here once that video
Hopefully.
comes out.
That'd be
Fingers
cool.
crossed if we remember that. So we're going to be talking about our top 20 to 11 games today because we've been going through our whole top 100 games of all time. Please, as you're going, if you are tracking this, let us know, A, what you think about these games. And if you're putting your favorite 100 games, put your 10 to 11 in the comments below so we can check out where you rank your games. And I think we should get right to it.
You said 10 to 11.
No, that's all I want.
Oh, is it 10 to 11? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't want 20 to
Sorry,
11. I want 10
My apologies. I was being insensitive.
2 up to and including 11, or 20 to 11. Thank you.
There you go.
But let's get to our 20 to 11 right now, starting with number 20.
20.
My number 20 was mentioned by you before. It's a French game where you have a bunch of followers. It's Orléans.
Oh, yeah.
Orleans. Or
This one
Orléans.
dropped a lot for me, but yeah.
Well, Nick has played a lot more than I, so maybe you played it out a bit. I have not had that opportunity because Orleans is always at Nick's house because Nick's played it a bunch.
It's right there.
Well, now it is. But up until recently, it was not. So Orleans is a game where you are going to be assembling a bag of followers. It's a bag building game, kind of similar to a deck builder where you're going to get a bunch of stuff, but you don't quite know what you're going to get on any one turn. And you're going to be, based off the followers you get, which are different knights and things like that, you're going to be activating action spaces that are going to move you up and down rivers and roadways. You're going to build guild halls. You can get these different buildings, which might give you action spaces. You can get access to different types of workers and monks and things that are wild. You can put people to the town hall to get this scoring. There's a whole mess of stuff you can do. And we really quite like it a lot. It's a really fantastic game, especially Orleans Invasion, the Invasion expansion, which makes a bunch of solo options, a good 2-player option, and then cooperative way to play Orleans, which is our favorite way to play. Because you're trying to do all these different things. You're trying to basically prepare for an invasion. You're trying to get your walls up. You're trying to get food and stuff stored
for that
up.
invasion.
You're trying to build up certain buildings. It's very difficult to do, and it makes it a really fun challenge because it's a challenging game. So I really like Orleans. It's my number 20, especially with the Orleans Invasion expansion, although all the expansions are great.
They are, yeah.
And I like playing competitively and cooperatively.
Yeah. All right, my number 20 was actually my favorite game of last year, and that is Sierra West. Nice. Sierra West, again, this is a game where, like, I'm very aware that I like this game pretty much more than everyone else. But I really, really love Sierra West. This is kind of a little bit of a bunch of stuff. It's like a teeny bit of deck building, teeny bit of worker placement, a little bit of programming, a little bit of card collection. I don't know. There's a bunch of little stuff. It's hard to describe because it doesn't really feel like any other game. But basically, you're going to have, you'll have draw your hand of 3 cards, and the cards will have symbols on them, and you're going to put them essentially up in this little like mountain kind of pyramid looking thing. And essentially, you're going to make 2 paths. You have 2 little workers that are going to kind of go across those paths programming style and do the actions they come across. And those actions allow you to like build more buildings. They'll get you resources, and they'll allow you to essentially go up these tracks. These tracks you want to go high on because you'll get more points if you do so. But then over here, there's a big pyramid of cards, and you could be going up, you can hike up this mountain, excavate the mountain, which is you excavating a card, and those cards are going to have essentially better actions on them. Yeah. And they'll go into your deck, and then you kind of start deck building through a little bit. And your excavating cards, you also get points for having more of those cards at the end of the game. And then the cool thing about that whole area, the whole mountain of cards up there, is there are 4 different modules in the base game, and that changes that whole mountain. There's one about like apple orchards, there's one about mining, there's one about like fishing, and there's one about like catching bandits. And that whole amount of cards changes
Specifics
depending
of that module. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's very, very cool because it changes the game, but the general mechanics of the game don't change. The whole programming stuff, putting cards, going up and getting those cards, all that's exactly the same. It just changes kind of like a little bit of other stuff, and it just makes it so cool. And I love it. I like the solo game. I love Sierra West. When I first saw it just on a table at Origins last year, I literally went like, what is this? This is my favorite game of the year. And I was right. I really like it a lot. Sierra West is in my top 20. It's incredible. I like it. I like it a lot.
That's awesome. Well, that's number 20 for both of us. Very well done, my sir. So let's get into number 19.
19.
My number 19 is another bag building, pulling stuff out of a bag, and you don't know quite what you're going to get. And if you get the wrong thing, you're going to blow up your cauldron because it's Quacks of Quedlinburg by Wolfgang Warsch. This is a press your luck game. Very simple.
You know what you can't do?
What?
You can't blow this up.
Can't blow
One's
it up.
made of pure aluminum, probably.
And
2, no matter what you
cement.
put in here, it turns into coldest water.
Bang. That's
Pepsi,
magical.
coldest water.
Alchemy is going on with there in the coldest water. In Quacks of Quedlinburg, you're kind of doing alchemy and stuff like that, or in the expansion you will be anyway. You are going to be trying to make like a witch's brew, essentially, is how I always think about it, by pulling out these little chits from your bag. And those little chits are going to help you with different scoring opportunities and stuff like that based off the color and the power that they come with. And those powers are variable, so depending on the game, they do different things. And you are going to be pulling out chits, and everything is good for you except for these little snap pea things that will blow up your cauldron if you have too many of them. So it really comes down to how much you want to push your luck. Do you want to keep pulling out stuff knowing that you're kind of got a lot of those snap peas? If you pull out one more, you're going to blow up and you're going to kind of lose some of your progress? Or do you stop, play it safe, and then take what you got and stuff? So that's all the game is get these different colored chits to hopefully get the right things in the right places. And try not to blow up your cauldron too much. But luckily with this game, if you blow up your cauldron, it's not the end of the world.
That's a huge saving
It's a minor
grace.
setback. Yeah, because it's just a fun, light, push your luck game. And I think this game really works because it's just fun. It doesn't try to be anything too crazy. It's just a press your luck game. People are like, you know what it is. It's just you get lucky in the game or you don't. There's not a lot of skill. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
It just goes over well.
It's really fun.
It just goes over well.
Love Quacks of Quedlinburg. My number 19.
My number 19, Mike mentioned a couple of lists ago, I think, and that's Quadropolis. We both like city building games. We both like tile laying games. But this really comes down to how you get those tiles in the center board. You have the center board with all the different tiles you can get. And you have architects that enable the 1 through 4. And basically, you can put it anywhere pointing into, it's like a little arrow, pointing into the board where you get the tiles. If I put a 1 on this row, I go 1 in, I get that tile. And then I have to put it in my city, either in the first row or the first column. If I use my 4 up here, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, grab that one. I have to put it in my 4th row or my 4th column. And it's such a cool, unique mechanic that I've never seen anyone else really use. And it sucks because it's such a cool thing, because it's like the puzzle of like trying, because the game ultimately is relatively simple. That's how you get those tiles. You have to put them in these places based off of what architect you use. And then you just want stuff adjacent to other stuff. Like you want parks next to residential buildings because people want to live near parks, which makes sense. You want to put factories near harbors because harbors bring in goods, they use them in the factories. Makes sense. And it's really great for that. But like the puzzle of like trying to like, oh gosh, I need a park and I need to go here, so I need to find a way to get it with the right tile. It's very, very difficult, but it's a difficult puzzle, but the mechanics aren't difficult.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really fun, and it just sticks around. I just love it. I absolutely adore this city building game. I think it's incredibly innovative, and I love it. I love it to death. Quadropolis.
Fantastic. 19. Nicely done. Nicely done. Let's go ahead and get number 18.
18.
My number 18 is a rondelle game where you're running cattle. This is Great Western Trail.
All right.
Yeehaw. So you'll be running cattle up to Kansas City and stuff. So it's a deck building game and you're hoping to get to Kansas City with a hand of completely different types of cows, because you can only score each type of cow once to get money and stuff. So if you have all of one type in your hand, it's not super useful for you. You want to have a diverse array of cows and stuff. So you are going to be going along your way to Kansas City to different action spaces. You can move between 3 and 4 spaces depending on where you are in the game. And you can make use of those action spaces. When you get there, a lot of times it's going to be trading cards out, because again, you want to get the right hand of cards. So you can do that to gain some money. You're basically selling cows along the way thematically. And then once you get up to Kansas City, you turn in those cards to then get money and then kind of place markers on different cities. You're hoping to ship off the cows as far as you can. You can only do that by having a really valuable hand of cards. And then you get those cards back and there's kind of some deck building in there. So it's a game that I just really enjoy. I really like the rondel system. And as you're doing that, you're putting new tiles out, which you can kind of overcome with the expansion, the Northern Rails, I believe it's called, or I never remember quite exactly the name. It kind of increases
of the North,
Railways,
I think.
yeah. It increases the train system and stuff, which makes that a little more intriguing and all that, which gives you more cities and different things you can do and abilities. But it's ultimately a really solid game. Yeah. It's just, I mean, that's the word I think of it. Like, it's a solid one. It's really good. I always enjoy playing it, and it's my number, what did I say, 18?
18, yeah.
Great Western Trail.
My number 18 is a people stacking game called Castel.
Nicely picked.
Castel is a great game that also kind of, like, unfortunately, a lot of Renegade games, it kind of went under the radar. And it's
so unfortunate.
Really, really incredible game that's based off of Castellers and Castel troops in Catalonia in the kind of a part of Spain, Catalonia part of Spain. And basically, you know what Castellers are? Those are those big human pyramids. You ever seen one of those like compilations on Facebook of like those giant human pyramids? Those are Castellers, and that's what they do. And so this game is all about that. So basically, the main board is a map of Catalonia, and you're basically going to the different cities there, and you're recruiting new Castellers to be part of your troop, and then you're putting on shows. And the shows, you basically want to make the biggest, coolest tower you can. And why I like this game so much, there's another game that just missed my list called Yukon Airways that does this as well. Basically, you have all these rules, like your
hard and fast rules.
Hard and fast rules, like your pyramid of people can only be 3 people wide, and then everything that it goes up, it has to lessen. So 3, 2, 1. It's not a very good pyramid. It's a pretty crappy pyramid, actually. But then you can, in all these different cities, you can train in different parts of things, and you can essentially start breaking all of those rules. So you can train in width, and what width means is now instead of being your tower can be 3 wide, it can now be 4 wide. So now you can go 4, 3, 2, 1, and your tower can get bigger. You can have balance, where instead of having to go in on one of your levels, you can have the same amount of people on top of each other. It's just, you start breaking all these rules, and it makes it so satisfying, but it's such a hard puzzle because you really can't do too much on your turn, and the festivals where you want to put on a show for people are in these different cities. So you have to try to make sure you're in those cities.
Right spot, yeah.
And it's very, very difficult. And it's just so much fun. I love the look of it. I love the theme. It's so different. It's just great. I love Castel. We talk about it a lot because we both love it. Yeah.
It's fantastic. So that is number 18 for the both of us. Let's go ahead and get to number 17.
17.
So you're saying your mouth can't moisten? Is that the coldest water's fault?
It's not helping. I keep trying to like wet my whole mouth. It's just, I've got dry
gums. Hold the
gums.
water in there.
I got dry gums right now.
Dry gums, man. So number 17, I'll let you wet your whistle while I do that. Number 17, you mentioned in the last one, is Paladins of the West Kingdom. Yeah. I do not lie to myself. I always said Paladins.
I've been lying. Sorry, yeah.
Paladins of the West Kingdom is one of the West Kingdom trilogy games that followed Architects of the West Kingdom. And it is a fantastic action selection game where you have a pool of workers every turn. You'll have at least 6. You may have carried some over from the last turn. And you're going to be putting those workers matching colors onto some action spaces to build up a wall, to attack these outsiders, to convert those outsiders, to absolve. There's just these kind of 6 areas that you're trying to work your way up, which are going to give you perks and benefits and stuff up these 3 kind of attribute tracks. You have strength, influence, and faith. Mm-hmm. So this is just a fantastic game that's just really difficult. And as Nick mentioned, you're trying to stretch as long as you can because certain things will allow you to get new workers, which then you can use immediately. So you can maybe extend your round for a little bit longer, save some of those for the next round and make that your long round. You have a paladin out each turn, which will make one of your actions a little cheaper, a little easier to do this action. So maybe that'll make you focus on this action right now while you can do it on the cheap. You can do it on the easy. There's a lot of stuff you can do where you can just try to bounce one thing into the next to stay in the round, do one more action. And really, as you mentioned, this is a game where you want to focus because there's those kind of 6 areas, like I mentioned, to kind of work up all these attribute tracks. But there are kind of synergistic combos, like 2 work with each other in kind of these 3 columns and stuff. And if you try to do a little bit of everything, it's only going to be so helpful. But if you kind of dial in and focus, because building my walls requires me to have a lot of influence, and gives me strength. And then my strength to attack people, I use my strength, but it gives me influence. I can try to work those things together and kind of make a focus for myself to work up those attribute tracks. There's just a lot to explore here that I really, really enjoy. So Paladins is my 17. I love it.
It's a great choice. It's a great choice. Yeah, Paladins is really great. My number 17 is the Castles of Burgundy.
Nice.
Castle of Burgundy is a Steffenfeld game that we're big fans of. It's generally his most popular game. It's very well liked. Castle of Burgundy.
Classic.
And it's just great. This is a game where it took us a while to actually end up playing this game. We finally played it, and we were both just like, ooh, okay.
Yeah,
and it's like,
we just avoided it forever because maybe because we knew it was such a classic.
well, and I think back
we're
then
like,
we didn't realize how much we like kind of drier Euro games like this. At that point, we didn't really realize that we actually like these kinds of games. Like, don't get me wrong, we definitely like thematic games more for the most part, but like, Crown of Tomorrow was on my last, like, we like dry Euros. It's just, we do. And so Castle of Burgundy, it's Castle of Burgundy. It's incredible. Like, it's simple. It's not very heavy in terms of mechanics, but there's a lot of strategy to it. It plays well at all player counts, but it plays really great at 2 because it's just quick. It's not very long. It's generally pretty cheap too, which is nice. You know, it's not a pretty game by any stretch of the imagination, but like,
I like both of it.
it's fine. Yeah, Mike likes it. But it's one of those things where it's just great. Castle of Burgundy is awesome, and I really, really enjoy it. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I love it. There's not much else to say. It's Castle of Burgundy. It's great.
No worries. You love it because you love it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's all right.
That's why it's 17 for you.
It is 17.
So that's our 17 collectively. Let's go ahead and jump into 16. 16! The thing is, Nick, sometimes, this happened earlier, sometimes things are very close together. Paladins is 17. You know what's slightly better? Viscounts of the West Kingdom. Baby.
Is it really?
Viscounts of the West Kingdom is 16 for me. Ever so slightly ahead of Paladins. So if ever you're wondering, hey, how do we rank the West Kingdom trilogy? I go Architects, Paladins, Viscounts.
That's true.
Ever so slightly for Viscounts. Viscounts of the West Kingdom is fairly new. It's just been hitting people's doorsteps from Kickstarter and stuff in the last month or two. And it is another game in this trilogy where now I always describe it as it's a slow motion deck building game, because on each turn you're going to be playing out one card into a tableau of up to 3 in front of you, and then you're going to be slowly working through a deck and then shuffling those cards and then working your way back through that deck, but you're only going to be putting one card out at a time. So it's kind of cool. So as you build this tableau of cards, you're going to get a series of icons which are going to fuel and fund one of 4 action types. So on your turn, based on that card you play, you're going to move your Viscount around this circular board going ever clockwise to the inner and outer rung of the board. The value of the card that you played is what dictates how far you move. It'll be between 1 and 3. And you're going to go, if you're on the outer ring, you have access to 2 certain actions. If you're on the inner ring, you have access to the other 2 types of actions. You can basically trade for goods and things. You can build some buildings. On the inner ring, you can transcribe manuscripts, or you can put people into the castle. And those are the 4 types of actions you can get. And those are all going to be based off the icon. So if you have a lot of these little blue money bags, you should probably do a trade action because you have a lot of those on your cards. If I have a bunch of inkwells, these little black crosses rather, I should probably transcribe a manuscript. But then you also have goods which you can use to fund those actions further. Gold helps you with putting people in the castle. Inkwells help you transcribe manuscripts. Stone helps you build. And then money will help you with trading and stuff. So you can kind of boost all those actions with those resources based on the things you do. And I really enjoy that Viscounts feels on the heavier side closer to Paladins than it does to Architects of the West Kingdom, but there's only 4 types of actions you do. So it's a little easier to kind of grok the types of things you can do. And then based off the cards you have in front of you, it might give you a direction to go. And it's similar to Paladins, where it's like you should probably focus on a couple of those actions and do a lot of those things versus a little bit of everything. But it's just a little slicker, I feel like, than Paladins is maybe. The way it all kind of works in the turn structure is really interesting. You're kind of playing like the whole the West Kingdom trilogy has played with this idea of like corruption and stuff. And Viscounts does that. Or there's kind of corruption and virtue, these tracks and stuff, and they'll eventually meet and you'll have like a little event. So you can be doing a lot of stuff and be like kind of really corrupt, and then take on more debts and stuff. You can be really virtuous and do more good deeds. And that's also going to kind of track out and time the game. Viscounts is a lot to explore. I really, really enjoy it.
He does.
So it's my number 16.
Yeah, I love it.
Really love it.
Awesome. My number 16, Mike mentioned, is this list Quacks of Quedlinburg, this was?
Yeah, 19.
Quacks of Quedlinburg is my number 16. I love Quacks of Quedlinburg. It just goes over well. Everything Mike said is true. It's great. It works. It just goes over well. Yeah, I just like it. It's wonderful. I love to play Quacks of Quedlinburg. I like the expansion because it's just more stuff to explore in terms of more variety in terms of the little bits you put in your potion. It's just wonderful. I love Quacks. Mike already talked about it. It's wonderful. 15.
Check it out.
15.
15, Nick just talked about. We are officially into crossover territory, by the
It's
way.
gonna be a
You're
lot.
like, these people we play all the same games, we like the same things, so there's going to be a lot of crossover from here on out. My 15 is Castle of Burgundy.
Oh, Casper? Okay.
Which you just mentioned recently. It's fantastic. It's Steffenfeld's classic, the crowning achievement to this date, I think. I
think so too.
You roll these dice, and it's all about mitigating those dice to get tiles, to then put those tiles into your little province, your estate or whatever it is, and it all has to do with those dice numbers. So the dice number you roll will dictate where you can take tiles from on the central board. The dice you've rolled will dictate what spaces are available because you have to match them onto your board with the number. You can only put a 5 on a space that's dictated for a 5, and they have to match land types and stuff, and they all do different things.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. You can get workers to manipulate those dice. You can get silverlings to get extra tiles. There's a lot of fun stuff to explore and try to combo together and be as efficient as you can. So I really love it. On top of everything else Nick said, Castle of Burgundy is my 15.
Yep. Casper.
What do you got?
It's great. My number 15, Mike mentioned recently, and that is Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Gloomhaven is great. I think it would have been lower on the list if it wasn't for Jaws the Lion. And I'm lumping Jaws the Lion.
Sure.
I'm lumping
greater
Jaws the Lion,
Gloomhaven.
and Gloomhaven Digital all into Gloomhaven because
Yeah.
they're all three the exact same game.
Yeah, they
You
are.
know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things, but I like all three of them individually. They're great. But we got Jaws Line recently, and I've been playing through it with my roommate, and we've been trying to play it at least once a week. We played it again the other night. And it's just, the game is great. It's just incredible. It's number one for a reason. I fully support it being number one. It's not my number one, but I get it, and it's like, Gloomhaven itself is great. Jaws Line, it's the same thing. It's just much smaller. It's great. Gloomhaven Digital is incredible. It's like the card play and learning your character is so satisfying. We're kind of at that point now in my campaign with my roommate David, where we're starting to really get our characters. We're starting to really
so satisfying.
Oh, my character's all about pulling people. So, and I got this card now where whenever an enemy enters a hex next to me, they might immediately get 2 damage. So I'm like,
cool.
So now I'm gonna go put this card into play, boom, whip this person, bring them over me, boom, hit him for twice. And it's just like, cool. It's just so satisfying. I love Gloomhaven. It's wonderful. I really love all of it. And I'm so happy there's Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion because more people are going to get into it. It's very, very accessible, which I will say the big base game and probably Frosthaven the same way are not because they're so large. But then Gloomhaven Digital is incredibly fun. It's so much fun because
it so
it's just
easy. You can play
an
with people
easier
from afar.
version. Yeah. But the fun part of the game, which is choosing your cards and learning your character, is all still there. But all the rest of the stuff is just taken care of for you.
It just takes away all the bookkeeping parts, which is great.
Great across the board. Gloomhaven's amazing. It's number 15.
Bam. Nicely picked, man.
Yeah.
Let's go to 14.
Let's do it.
14. I'm going insane.
My number 14 was mentioned by you a while ago, I believe. It is a John D. Clare classic called Space Base.
Yeah, this one dropped down for me a little farther, but I do love Space Base.
Space Bass is great. Boss. Is a fantastic game where, as Nick mentioned, you're rolling dice on your turn to activate different kind of ports on your board. You have numbers 1 through 12, which represent all the possible dice combinations, and then also the dice pips individually. If I roll a 3, I have a 1 and a 2, I can do 2 things. I can activate my first and second slot, or I can put the dice together to activate my third slot. Generally, the higher the number of the slot, the more valuable those actions are because they're harder to roll. There's fewer ways to roll them. And so it becomes about what you choose on your turn, and then you're going to get some money, and then hopefully on most turns you'll be buying a new card, which will replace one of the 12 cards on your board, and you're going to slot it into whatever slot it says. It might be 7, 6, or whatever. And if I put it into 6, for example, I'm going to place it down. Whatever card was there on 6 is going to get removed, flipped up to the down, and go under my board, showing just a little red banner, which now will activate when other players roll that 6. And so now I can have stuff to do on other players' turns. And so it's a cool game where you are always sort of active because you're paying attention to when people roll because you're going to have a bunch of stuff to activate. So that by the time it comes around to you, you already have money and all these things going on. So now you can buy bigger cards. So it ramps up really well because you get set up where you don't have to be active to get stuff, which is great. And you're trying to set yourself up so that you are either gambling on big things up in the 11s and 12s and 10s, or I always try to fill my 1 through 6. So no matter what people roll, I can activate things. It's up to you how you work that, but you're always engaged in what's happening, which is fantastic.
Which is huge.
The Space Base is great. It is my number, 14.
Jump cut. Wow. Sounds so great.
Sounds so great.
My number 14 is Pagoda.
Pagoda.
I love Pagoda. Pagoda is high in my heart. This is a AG game that Pagodas are shaped kind of like the Coldest Water, or rather, they're shaped after the Coldest Water. The Coldest Water is not shaped after Pagodas.
I think they came first, and then Pagoda came second.
Yeah, I think so. But the Coldest Water, inspired architects. I don't know. Jokes. But Pagoda is a great game. It's a 2-player game where you are building up pagodas. Pagodas are really, really beautiful architectural buildings in like Japan, China, Southeast Asia, places like that. Very tall buildings. Very, very cool. And basically, it's this kind of 3D game where you're playing out these cards. The cards will have different colors on them. And if you turn like a green card, you can put out like a green pillar. And you have 4 green pillars. You then can put a green roof on top of it. And then that roof will tell you what kind of color wants to be on top of that. It could be like purple, red, blue, yellow. And that's what you're doing. And basically, when you put out a card for a column, it'll give you a point if it's on the ground floor. But if that column is on the second floor, it gives you 2 points. If it's on the third floor, it gives you 3, 4, and then the pagoda gets finished. Also, whenever you build one of the floors, if you build like a green floor, you get to charge the green ability. Each color has an ability. You can use that ability twice, and then it goes away, and you have to build another floor of that color to charge it back up again. So the game is just like trying to maximize where you're putting stuff out while trying to get those powers, which are so useful. But this is a game where it's all also about trying to not set up your opponents because it's only a 2-player game.
We're all working on the same pagodas together.
Yeah, and because the columns get more points, they give you more points as they get higher. So the worst thing I could do is like finish out a floor, finish out columns, build a floor, and then end my turn. Because then Mike can just go, well, I guess I'll just build up here and get more points than you just got. Yeah. So you're constantly trying to like force your opponent to like finish stuff for you, or it's a very tactical game that's very, very fun. That's kind of hinged around trying to get these powers because they're so useful, and it's just so fun. And I just love it. It's one of my favorite 2-player games, and I just absolutely adore it.
Yeah, it's super duper good, man. I really, it's really good.
Just works. Just works. Really that's my number 14, Pagoda. Let's get number 13.
Chill.
13.
So my number 13 was mentioned by you a while ago. I believe it is Everdell.
Wow, that high.
Placement game, yeah.
Wow, that's great.
I love it.
No, I no shade here. Trust me.
It's a worker placement game where you are building out a little town with wonderful little critters, and it's got beautiful art. And it's just really fun because each season you'll get another worker, so you kind of start off small and simple, and then kind of build up as you go. And it, like a lot of other games that I've realized I really quite like, it's really about kind of efficiency and how long can you stretch out. Because in the first round in spring, you only have 2 workers. So you can go to 2 different worker spots to get some resources mostly. That's what they do. And then as you build buildings and stuff, you get the ability to build critters for free if they match that building type. You get to put them in that building. So it becomes about like, how much can I do without having to use my workers or without having to go into the next season to reclaim my workers. It's also kind of about
trying to extend your turn.
Yeah, which I really enjoy. Is like, how long can I stay in this game? How long can I stay in this round? How much can I stretch my resources that I have and get combos to get bonuses to give me more resources or get to build something for free or for cheap? How do I do that? And it's a puzzle I really enjoy doing. So Everdell does that really well while making the game accessible and looking great. So it really ticks off a lot of things that a lot of those boxes I enjoy. So
absolutely.
That's my 13.
And I talked about mine. I really want to try the new expansions because I hear they're super fun.
Yeah, I really want to try them.
My number 13 is by our sponsor, Coldest Water and Restoration Games. And this is Downforce. Now, this is a game where it's like, we don't get to play it very often because this is a game I want to play at 6. But if I'm just taking out the fact that we don't get to play it very often, and I just put myself in like, how much do I enjoy playing this game?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I think of my list. How much do I enjoy playing this game in the ideal condition? Right?
Yeah.
And again, sometimes we're like, well, this game isn't higher because we don't play very often. But this is one we're like, no. At 6 players, with a bunch of people I love, Downforce is apparently my 13th favorite game.
It's really fun.
Love Downforce at 6. If we're playing with like us, Matthew, Jude, someone else who really loves the game, it's just, we have so much fun. It's quick. It's easy. There's a bunch of different maps. There's like 6 now. 6 maps, right? Because they're all double-sided.
I think so.
Yeah, and it's like, it's just so fun. Each card has a special power, which gives you like a little ability to do some cool stuff. And it just works. It's just fun. I love Downforce so much. And especially if we get like that ideal, we're at a convention, something like that, where we're 6 players, people people we know, and we're just having a blast playing. It is one of my favorate games. I love Downforce. It is the racing game for racing, like vroom vroom racing game for me. I absolutely adore it.
Oh, it's such a good pick. You're right. It's always a really fun time.
Yeah.
And it should be. That's what Restoration Games does really well.
They do.
Fun stuff. Ryan, that was, what was our 13?
13. That was 13.
Sweet. Let's get to number 12. We're getting close, y'all.
12.
My number 12 was mentioned by you very recently. It's about stacking up humans for show. It's Castell. I love putting together that puzzle. All the things that Nick just mentioned
so good.
It's so true. You have all these really firm rules, and you find ways to break those rules and again, literally extend into the sky in this way. We're like, how can I make use of my skills the best to really compete? And the cool thing is, you know everything at the start. You know everything you're going to need. You know where you're going to need to be to perform. And then you have to make choices, tough choices about, do I skip this performance because I'll be better suited for this one over here and I can physically get to that place? How do you make use of all that information up front over the 10 rounds to try to do the best that you can and break all those rules? It's really fun to be given strict rules and then have all the ability to break that and just try to use your mind to make something make sense out of all that's very puzzly. I really, really love it. Castell is just great and a really cool theme. I love it. It looks great too. I love the pastel kind of colors. Number 12 for me is Castell.
All righty. My number 12, by the way, is my favorite number in general. And it is fitting because my favorite roll and write is here, and that is cartographers.
Nice.
Cartographers could have made my top 10. I like cartographers a lot. It's great. It is just
real good.
It is just my favorite roll and write, flip and fill, whatever you want to call it. This is a game where you're building out a map, and basically what it is, everyone goes off the same cards. You flip over a card, it's going to have a terrain type or maybe multiple terrain types, and then a shape, a kind of polyomino tile shape kind of thing, Tetris style. And then you have to draw that terrain and shape somewhere in your map, and you're essentially trying to go off these 4 scoring cards. And the scoring cards will change out each game, so you have different stuff. Sometimes it's like, oh, you want all of your forests along the edge of your map. So you're trying to constantly put all your forests along the edge of your map. This one, you want a bunch of little clusters of villages. So you're trying to make little clusters of villages. This time, next game, you want a giant cluster of village. Oh, because now you want this. And it just changes. And just with the changing scoring and the fact that the cards will always come out in different orders, it just works so well. This game goes over so well with everyone we play it with. They have the new Heroes expansion, which is super fun. I guess it's a standalone thing, but it's super fun. It's got some new map types as well. There's monsters that screw you up, and now especially with the Heroes in the Heroes expansion, there's new monsters, and the new monsters are super cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
This is a game where like I never ever. I've played it. I think it's my 3rd most played game of this year. If not, it's in the top 5. I've played it over 20 times just this year, and I absolutely love it. It's so good. It just goes over well. I love it. Cartographers.
It's so good. Let's get into my favorite number. You just did your favorite number, so I think I'm going to do
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
My favorite's 11 because it is the best. Right. So let's do that now.
11. This was a bad idea. Why did I agree to do this? This was a silly thing to do. It's taken me all day and I'm very, very tired. 11. Oh!
My number 11 was mentioned by you a while back. Again, we're in crossover territory. This is Clank, a deck building adventure.
Yeah.
Clank was my former number 1 from the first time we ever kind of ranked all of our games. Clank was number 1. I love it. I think it's so fun. It's just a great deck building game where based on those cards that you're getting every round, like most deck builders, you're going to hope to buy better and better cards and stuff and hope that they come up in an advantageous order.
Yeah.
In this, you're going to be using your cards to move through this dungeon, and you're going to go deep down into the dungeon, underground, literally, and hopefully find rare artifacts and stuff to steal from this dragon. Unfortunately, the dragon doesn't love you bonking around down there.
Yeah, she don't like that.
She don't like that game. So there are a lot of things you can do and play cards that might be really powerful, but they make you add clank. Give me an example of a clank sound. Like that, you know what I mean? The dragon hates that sound, exactly. So they...
and also, water is the antithesis of fire.
Yeah, it doesn't like that at all. So if you bring that in there, instant rage from that dragon. So you're going to be bouncing around, making clank, hopefully not, because every time a dragon symbol appears on cards in the kind of dungeon row, you're going to be drawing all those cubes out of a bag, and if your color comes up, you get damaged because they found you. You're too loud. The dragon has found you, and they can actually kill you if you get all of your damage spaces filled up. So it's like, how much do I risk it? Do I go way down deep in the dungeons, knowing that if I play cards, I don't get any boot symbols, I can't move, and I might get stuck, and then I've been loud, and now there's a bunch of my cubes in this bag. So how much do you push your luck versus maybe get some treasure, get some artifacts, and then get out? Hopefully that'll be enough to get you, over the line. So it's just a really fun deck building game where the deck building feels meaningful because I'm now using it to physically move meeples through a dungeon and stuff versus just deck building to then turn things into points and stuff. Yeah. I really like Clank.
Yeah.
So it's my number 11.
All righty, number 11. That's the end of this list. Oh no, my sorry. My number 11 is I assume will be on the next list for Mike, and that is Grand Austria Hotel. I love Grand Austria Hotel. This is a game.
It's going to make an appearance.
It's going to make an appearance. Spoilers. Grand Austria Hotel it's just great. This is a game that is very difficult in terms of you just can't do all the stuff you need to do.
No.
But basically, you're running a hotel. You're a hotelier. And you are bringing guests. Your hotel has a cafe at the bottom, so you're bringing guests to your cafe. And then if you serve them what they want, they either want coffee, wine, strudel, or cake. If you serve them what they want, they'll go, okay, I guess I'll just stay here.
Might as well stay
I guess
here.
they didn't know where. This is before reservations,
They're
I guess.
peckish. Yeah.
They're peckish. So they went and then they'll stay in your hotel. But the action selection part of this game is very cool because you basically have a certain amount of dice based on the player count. You roll them out, and then there are 6 columns, and whatever the pip value, so it's 1 through 6. Whatever the pip value on the dice, if you have a 1 die, it goes to the 1 column, and you put them all out there. And then on your turn, you'll take a die from one of the columns, 1 through 6, and you'll do the action associated with that column. But how many times you get to do that action depends on how many dice are in that column.
Yeah.
So if I do the 2 action, which I think is getting wine and coffee, if there are 4 2s there, I can do that action 4 times and I can get 4 wine and or coffee of a mix. And so it's this constant where you're like, I need to do a lot of this stuff. And then all of a sudden you're like, cool, no 3s were rolled. That's not good.
I better change my plan.
And there's some ways to kind of get around that, but it's just very cool. And we really like to play this game at 2 players specifically because it's
on time.
It's a snake draft kind of game. So I draw it. If I'm first player, I take a die. Mike will then take a die. He'll take another die, and then it comes back to me. It's kind of a whoop, whoop. And when you have 3 or 4 people, it just goes like do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And if you're first and then 8, it's bad. And it just takes a while. And with 2 players, it's just bam, 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 and it's just snappy. Yeah. And it's just it's running a hotel's hard. It's tough to manage. And so it's hard to manage this game in terms of all the stuff you have to do. Yeah. But I really love it. Grand Austria Hotel is great.
It's so fantastic. You will maybe see it again coming up for me.
Definitely.
That is our 20 to 11, my friends. Great picks, I say. We have 10 more games to talk about. That'll be in the next video. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been making jokes about the coldest water during this whole time. I'm sure you've noticed. Hopefully you've noticed. But we want to do a sincere thank you to our patrons for supporting us in everything we do. Thank you to our awesome Twitch community for being just fantastic and fun in chat and probably helping carry us through this marathon that we just did. We really appreciate you. We're saying that now.
Preemptively, thanks people.
Because we know we're going to need it. If you are doing your top 100 games, let us know what your 20 to 11 would be in the comments below. And let us know what you think of our picks. We're curious. Do you love, hate these games? All opinions are valid.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below. We miss anything?
I don't think so.
Well, then we will see you in the finale of the top 100 games of all time with 10 to 1 in the next video.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for watching that video. If you want to check out the last 10, which is 30 to 20, check out that video up there. And then if you're watching this after the fact, 10 to 1 will be right there. If not, something else will be right there. But nonetheless, check out the other parts of our top 10 and and make sure to subscribe while you're here because that helps a lot, more than you know. And so we'll see y'all later.